1, 2, 3.
Hello everyone and most welcome to a lecture about proprioception. This is based vaguely on an article written by Stephen M. Rosen, American-Canadian philosopher, writer of scientific articles. We have mentioned him earlier in the connection with the Klein bottle and the Möbius strip. He is a very keen thinker whose interest is to sort of connect subject with object. And he's using the term made by David Bohm, quantum physicist, called proprioception to describe a different way of looking at the world. Those of you who are familiar with Ian McGilchrist knows that the left versus the right hemisphere also has a parallel in eyesight, how we look at the world. The left hemisphere take on the world is a strained one, looking for objects, the specific view. I will call it the particular view here. This is in contrast to the wider panoramic view, taking in everything, not specifically looking for something preconceived. The panoramic view. The panoramic view is also the relaxed view, because there is a certain strain connected with the object-looking eye. The object-looking eye is a greedy eye, connection to grasping. I will try to sort of make a pantomime of it. I'm greedily looking for objects, straining my neck at the same time here around the nape of your neck where it goes into the head. That strain is connected to object viewing. And the idea or the general preconception that we are divided from our surroundings. We are not in our reality. It makes a lot of sense to see that way of experience the world as pretty new, not as common as it used to be. And today, I would say it's the default view of most people. It's almost like a cult, the cult of the object, I choose to call it here. This is closely connected, of course, to Martin Heidegger's Vergessenheit or amnesia, where we forget the reality that we are in, where we as observers are the most important. Proprioception means to feel both outside and inside at the same time. Once more, you have the Klein bottle here that connects the both of them. Just a second, there is a lot of air above my head?
Yes, but not too much.
Maybe you can zoom in a little bit, just a little bit.
I don't know if I dare to go
You just put your finger, 2 fingers at one time, and you can make it a little bit bigger. That's probably enough, yeah. Not so much. Cheers. Because I'm going to show some things with my hand.
Oh, okay.
When the child or the baby, as a very young one, moves about, when it turns to the left or to the right, there is a certain reflex. So when the hand falls out, it raises slightly, and the head follows. And a connection is established between eye and hand. This is the first division between subject and object, so to speak. So the baby turns to the left, the arm goes up, and a little distance is created. This is how the baby learns about an external world. But also, it also learns how to focus its eyesight. This is the first gesture. It is primordial. This is the development of what could become a cleft between you living in the world and your surroundings. And that step I would call the cult of the object. Then you have left reality, and you had made representation of what used to be real, and that is connected with a particular proprioception that doesn't take your internal state. Let me give you some examples directly. Falling into the paper, exhibit A in my proofs. Very common. You want to read something, but you're so greedy, as I mentioned before. You want to grasp the meaning of what is written in the paper. So you leave your balanced position and try to enter the paper. How do you enter it? You enter it bodily and spiritually at the same time. Don't make a division. Don't think that this is a machine that you can retrain. You need to retrain both the body and the soul at the same time. Without that, there will be no effect at all. As Ian McGilchrist is saying, a particular posture is a particular way at being in the world. Stephen M. Rosen calls this the classical divide. You can here think the poor old René Descartes, who's stumbling around in the castle up there in Stockholm, Gripsholm's castle I think it was, and in the bitter cold of the winter morning, 4 o'clock, he has a bad posture. He's very intent of dividing the world, splitting the atom. In this process, you also lose your posture. You lose your bodily composition, your balance. You lose your connection to your sitting bones. This is the greedy posture of wanting to take in. I really want to understand. And then immediately all surroundings is lost. And the grim face of seriousness is replacing the joyous laughter, taking in posture. I call it taking in posture. It's an open bodily posture, not closed. You open up. And what happens at the same time is a relaxation of the eye, the strain around the retina. This is the very strain that makes the eyes go oval. that ovality can produce myopia, that is nearsightedness, for instance. So there is absolute result of this worldview. So let me just briefly repeat. You lose your balance, spiritual and bodily balance. So here your balance, you understand that the observer is part of reality. What you feel is important. When in this balance, you will feel, it's a bit chilly. I am hungry. I'm thirsty. I have this delayed anger because somebody at the tram treated me badly yesterday. All those things are situated in the proprioceptive area of the body/mind. If you don't connect to those, you will not connect to the proprioception either. So you cannot do, as Parfit, my ex, so to speak, philosophical role model, Derek Parfit, the English analytical philosopher, he forgot his body constantly. He ate the same food every day. He did not sit in comfortable, balanced positions. He didn't even take care of his hygiene. He lost his proprioception, and thereby you lose your reality. There is no doubt about that. This is why I so much recommend the matter with things in connection with the master and his emissary, because they bring up so much proof, scientific investigations, that we have lost our connections to our body, and the results of that losing, which is a dominance of the left hemisphere. And this is one of the reasons I call it the cult of the object, because the left hemisphere have no connection to reality. It is pure belief. You defy reality. And this is the very interesting point. Listen up. Everything gets connected. This is why I like Stephen M. Rosen so much. Everything gets connected, because you cannot separate worldview from bodily position, or how you feel, or how you progress in the world. Splitting the atom means that you no longer can understand the physical world. This is the point that Rosen is doing. You're stepping away from an understanding, a scientific understanding of the world. And you leap into the world of pure representation, the world of ideas. And that has its counterpart in a bad posture, where you greedily sitting, for instance, you leap into reality, you lose this is the vertical line of the balance. You lose that balance, and you put your chin forward and you strain your eyes. All those actions will take you out of reality and into another unreal world where you can only believe, where learning, is this still visible in the camera? Or I can move the whole thing to this. In the cult, learning understanding and knowledge. These aspects are no longer important. It's just belief instead. You do not learn anything more if you cut off your proprioception. If you forgot yourself, like Derek Parfit, there's no learning about an external world either. You lose both. I will not repeat the Klein bottle in this lecture, but I will just reference it. There are 4 lectures about the Klein bottle I made, and I can also recommend the writings of Stephen M. Rosen. But as you remember, the external, the exo, goes into the internal. And it's actually the external that produces the internal, and vice versa. Therefore, your mood, how you feel, are you thirsty, all those factors goes into every aspect of reality. You cannot be a scientist if you don't see to your own bodily/mind. If you don't have connection to yourself, you will be a lousy scientist. A point also made by Niels Bohr. He always said, a good dinner first and then scientific experimentation or discussions. Often accompanied by a good beverage. Probably Carlsberg, or could be something else if it's earlier on. I usually prefer a nice cup of joe, but it needs to be of good quality, because the quality matters. In this area, when your proprioception is going towards the more balanced, a new factor develops that I wouldn't say it replaces, but it is parallel, and that's the idea of quality. So in the badly proprioceptive system, in the particular view, we need to use local reality. Sorry, not so many difficult words. Local reality, and local reality brings in only 2 aspects. That is true or false. It's an incredible simplification. Incredible. This is ignorance. Instead here you have quality. You have higher quality, just as Paul Feyerabend mentioned in his book The Conquest of Abundance, and many of his other books as well, and of course in his lectures. Science is about quality. And it's also about quality of life. Enjoying yourself. You cannot make serious science if you are serious as a person. I mean now in the bad way, in the cult of objectivity, because it is a cult. You can only do the cult of objectivity together with others, and there needs to be an authority instead of reality, where you blindly trust someone else, or usually there is an institution or a group. No, in good proprioception, you are self-service. You are, as the philosophers or biologist Varela says, you are autopiosis. You work by yourself. You are self-supportive because you take in your inner worldview. You do not erase it. You are constantly fueling yourself with your inner reality. As yet some more complicated words. I think I need to deconstruct it as a later lecture. But it's a collaborator of Bohm, Lee Nicole, and he emphasizes the need to use the body as a source of immediate concrete feedback. For inquiry, expanding attention to include physiological correlates of mental reactions. What is physiological correlations of mental reactions? Well, for instance, my previously mentioned like strain from this person on the tram treating me badly, not being nice to me. That leaves a strain somewhere in my body. I need to connect to this strain because it's going to have an effect. It's going to have an effect of my quality of taking in the world. Is that understand? I think that's a bit easier to understand. So if I do not like Derek Parfit, sorry to use him as an example here, I think we should give Immanuel Kant a free day today. So I use Derek Parfit. If you don't take you in your body, if you become over serious, you will also lose in the end of the external reality. And thereby, I am undermining one of the greatest canons from the cult of objectivity. And that is something that Jacques Monod would say. Lose yourself. Give up yourself. Give up your intentions. Give up your want to be a famed scientist or whatever you want to become. Thereby, you will reach objectivity. No, says Stephen Rosen, and science, you will lose objectivity. Isn't that amazing? This is why I think Stephen and Rosen is so important, because this is a definite blow against the cult of objectivity. It blows it at the center, the solar plexus.
Oh.
What is the solar plexus of objectivity? Is that, well, you can treat yourself badly, you have to conform into the institution, you need to go by the grades, you develop as an institutionalized person, but at least you will reach truth, the truth values. You will get some sort of objective knowledge. No, you will not. That is the first thing you lose, and that is knowledge, understanding and learning. This is a very short description of Stephen M.'s marvelous article. I'm sorry about that. But I think since it's so complex, this is a good start. But learning that it is not irrelevant how you sit or stand. To give you an example about that, I attended lectures many years ago in Japan. The lecturer would not hold the lecture without us sitting on the floor and in a specific position of attention. He could never, and he did never in his whole lifetime, accept anyone sitting on a chair, crouched or slumped, because your attention is necessary for the lecturer to make a good lecture, to make a class, a lesson, to teach something. So in Japan, you needed, at least at that time, to sit well. Whereas in the West, we are completely Cartesian. They actually joked about that. It's like, we don't care about reality or knowledge. So people sit like this. I even attended a lecture a couple of weeks ago at, I shouldn't say where it was, but it was something connected to radio.
Yes.
It was this guy sitting there, yawning like this. That would never, ever happen in Japan or the East. Because then you already shut your whole system off. But the bad thing, many people in the West are unaware of this. And it affects mostly the possibility of knowledge. And then in the end, you have you have to do with facts. Facts, especially how they're usually used, are a sort of atoms that you collect. And in this atom collection, you need to have so much belief because you don't gain anything. Facts instead of knowledge. Today, we live in the factoid world. Stephen M. Rosen's article is a really good step towards balance and including yourself, the observer, because you personally is the observer. It's not a generalized or universalized observer. It's you personally. With your name, with your personal number, you standing there, or I'm standing here. So do not lean into the world, because already then are you straining your eyes. And you make it impossible to see properly. Myopia is not only about something to do with the eye globe. No, it's connected to everything. I end there. I say thank you very much for listening. Bye bye. Cheers.
Thank you.
Oh, perfect.